There's one mystery in From that everyone keeps talking about, but almost nobody is asking the most important question. Who carved those dates inside the lighthouse? Not what they mean, not why they're there, but who put them there in the first place. Because the truth is, those dates were never random. They weren't decoration. They weren't warnings. They were left there by someone who knew exactly what was coming. And after looking at every clue the show has given us, I think From has secretly already revealed the answer. The scary part? That person may still be trapped in the town, watching everything happen all over again. And once you see this theory, you can't unsee it. Because the lighthouse might not just be a place. It might be the center of everything. And the person carving those dates may be the only one who truly understands how this nightmare works. Let's start at the beginning. The first time we ever see the lighthouse dates is in Tabitha's dream back in season 1. That alone should already tell you something important. Think about it. The show didn't reveal those dates in reality. It revealed them in a dream. That means the writers wanted us to notice them before the characters did. And the dates themselves are strange. 9 different years, spread across almost 500 years. That's not random. That's a timeline, a record, a history. And here's where things get even crazier. One of those years, 1864, shows up somewhere else. Inside the bottle tree. Boyd finds it in the forest. Same number. Same episode. 2 completely different places. The lighthouse. The bottle tree. Both connected by the same year. That means these locations are part of the same system. And if they're connected, then the person leaving those dates knew about both. But why leave dates? What do they represent? At first, it seems obvious. Past events. Previous victims. Old tragedies. But the more you look at it, the less that makes sense. Because if these were just historical moments, why only 9? Why not dozens? Why not hundreds? No, these dates feel selective. Important. Almost like checkpoints. And that changes everything. Because what if each date marks the end of a cycle? A complete run of the town story. A group trapped. A massacre. A reset. Then new people arrive. And it starts all over again. That would explain why the years are spread apart. Not every cycle happens at the same speed. Sometimes decades pass. Sometimes less. But each one ends the same way. Failure. Death. Reset. And if that's true, then the current story we're watching is cycle number 10. The unfinished one. The one without a date yet. And that means someone is waiting to carve the next one. Now, ask yourself this. Who would even have access to all these cycles? Who could witness events from 1506 all the way to 1978? It can't be Victor. He's old, but not that old. It can't be Boyd. It can't be Tabitha. It can't be Jade. None of them can move through time. But one character can. Julie. And that changes everything. Julie is the first confirmed story walker. The only person we've seen physically move into past events. That makes her different from everyone else. She doesn't just remember history. She can step inside it. And if she can visit the past, she can visit every cycle, every massacre, every failed attempt, every version of this nightmare. Which means she could be the one carving the dates. Not as a warning for others, but as a map for herself. A way to keep track of where she's been. And if that's true, then Julie's future is much darker than we thought. Because it means she's been trapped in this loop for far longer than anyone realizes. And the Julie we know now, she may just be at the very beginning of becoming the person who carved those walls. But before we lock Julie in as the answer, there's another name we have to talk about. Victor's sister, Eloise. Because if there's one character the show has kept deliberately mysterious, it's her. Think about what we actually know. The night of the massacre in 1978, Victor hid underground. His mother Miranda ran toward the lighthouse. And Eloise ran after her. After that, nothing. Victor later says he found pieces of bodies. But he was a terrified child. He never clearly confirmed Eloise died. And the show never showed her body. That matters. Because in television, if you don't see the death, it usually means there's more to the story. A lot of fans believe Eloise survived. Maybe hiding. Maybe trapped somewhere deeper in the forest. Maybe beyond the lighthouse itself. And honestly, it makes sense. She would know things nobody else knows. She would have been there since the last cycle. She could have discovered secrets Victor never found. She could have even reached the lighthouse. But there's one huge problem with that theory. Eloise could only explain one date. That's it. She cannot explain 1506, or 1609, or 1864, unless she has some way to move through time. And so far, the show has never hinted that she can. Julie can. That's the difference. And the show keeps building that idea stronger. Look at what happened when Julie threw the rope to Boyd. That moment changed everything. At first, it looked like Julie was interfering with the past. But Ethan explained the real rule. You can visit past chapters. You can't change them. Whatever happened, always happened. That means Julie didn't create the rope moment. She fulfilled it. She was always there. And that means if the lighthouse dates already exist, Julie may have always been the one to carve them. Not in the future. In the past. That's how the loop works. And suddenly the lighthouse starts looking less like a mystery and more like an anchor. A fixed point. A place that survives every cycle.
Because think about this.
The town changes.
People change.
Houses get destroyed. Residents die. But the lighthouse remains. That's important. Almost too important. It may be the only structure that exists outside the cycle. A place untouched by resets. And if Julie needed to leave something permanent, stone would be the only way. Not paper. Not drawings. Stone. That brings us to another detail nobody talks about. Victor's drawings. Miranda told Victor to draw everything. Everything he saw. Everything he remembered.
Why?
Because memory disappears. But drawings survive. That idea matters. Fromm keeps repeating it. Records matter. Proof matters. Documentation matters. And the lighthouse dates are the oldest form of documentation in the entire show. Older than Victor's drawings. Older than the talismans. Older than the town itself. That means whoever carved them understood something before anyone else did. How the cycles work. How time works. How to survive long enough to keep track. And there's another terrifying possibility. What if Victor has already seen Julie in the past? Think about it. Julie entered 1978. Victor was alive in 1978.
A child.
Watching everything. Drawing everything. What if he saw her? A strange girl appearing during the massacre. A girl he wouldn't recognize until years later. And what if he drew her? That would mean somewhere in Victor's hidden drawings, there might already be proof. Proof that Julie has been moving through these cycles long before she even realizes it. And if that's true, then her future is already written. She's not becoming the story walker. She always was. And the lighthouse dates? They may not just be history. They may be her footprints. And this is where the theory becomes terrifying. Because if Julie really is the one carving those dates, then it means something even bigger. She has seen every failure, every cycle, every death, over and over again. Think about what that does to a person. Imagine watching Boyd fail, watching Tabitha fail, watching Jade die, watching Victor lose everyone, then watching the town reset and start again. Same pain, different faces, again and again. That's not survival. That's torture. And maybe that's why the future version of Julie feels so different. The show has been quietly changing her, making her harder, smarter, more desperate. Every story walk changes her. Every trip into the past teaches her something. And maybe that's the real purpose. Not to save the past, but to learn from it. To gather enough knowledge to finally break the cycle. That's why the man in yellow matters so much. Because his behavior around Julie tells us everything. The first time he sees her in the past, he reacts like she's a stranger. But later, he knows her. He recognizes her instantly. That means they've crossed paths many times. More than we've seen. More than the show has revealed. And that only makes sense if Julie keeps returning. Again. And again. And again. That's how he becomes familiar with her. That's how he stops being surprised. And that means the Julie we know now is only at the beginning. The version of her carving a lighthouse wall is much older, much more experienced, much more broken. She has spent years walking through history, trying to solve something no one else can. And what if the dates are more than markers? What if they're warnings? Think about the pattern. The cycles seem to get closer together. 1506 to 1609, 1609 to 1672, then 1723, 1752, 1753, 1754, 1755, 1756. The gaps shrink. Almost like something is speeding up. Like the town is getting closer to something. An ending. A final cycle. And if that's true, then the current cycle may be the last chance. That's why the boy in white keeps pushing Tabitha. Why he keeps saying they're running out of time. Because maybe they are. Maybe this is the final chapter. The 10th cycle. The one that decides everything. And Julie may already know that. Not this Julie, but future Julie. The one who carved the wall. The one who left the bottle tree numbers. The one building a map across time. A map only she can understand. Because every mark she leaves is for herself. Not for Boyd. Not for Victor. Not for Jade. For herself. To remember. To keep going. To find the one path that finally works. And when you look at it like that, the lighthouse stops being just a symbol. It becomes a journal. A record of every failed world. Written by the only person who remembers them all. That's why the show hid it in a dream. Because it was never meant to make sense at first. It was planted there from the beginning. A clue waiting for us to catch up. And now everything points back to Julie. The only story walker. The only traveler. The only one who can be in every cycle. The only one who can carve every date. But there's one final question. If Julie has already lived through all of this, if she's already seen every ending, then why hasn't she stopped it? What happened in all those cycles that made her fail 9 times? And more importantly, what makes this cycle different? Because if the lighthouse wall tells us anything, it's that this story has already been told 9 times. And if Julie really carved those dates, then somewhere in her future, she already knows how this one ends.